Nobody ever taught you how to hope. Think about that for a second. You went to school for years. You learned algebra you've never used. You memorized dates of wars that ended before your grandparents were born. Someone taught you how to parallel park, but not a single person, not one teacher, not one parent, not one motivational poster in a guidance counselor's office sat you down and said, "Hey, what if you actually let yourself believe it works out?" Nobody said that, ever. And I think that's kind of insane. Here's what they did teach you. Have a backup plan. Manage your expectations. Don't get your hopes up. Be realistic. I heard "be realistic" so many times growing up, I started to think realism was a personality, like it was something to be proud of. Walking around prepared for disappointment, like it made me smart, like it made me safe. And maybe you did the same thing. You had something you wanted, a job, a relationship, a business, a dream you were almost embarrassed to say out loud. And before anyone could doubt you, you doubted yourself first, because at least that way, it didn't hurt as much when it fell apart. I used to think my low expectations made me wise, like I had figured something out that optimistic people hadn't. I hadn't figured anything out. I was just scared, and I'd gotten really good at dressing that fear up in sensible clothes. That's not wisdom, that's fear wearing a suit. Here's what's actually happening inside your head when fear takes over. Your brain is running a dark psychology simulation of your life's failures, not once, not twice, on a loop. Every possible way things could go wrong, exaggerated, distorted, playing on repeat like a film you never agreed to watch. And it's convincing, so convincing that most people never act. They quit before they start. They abandon ideas, goals, dreams, not because failure's likely, but because their own mind tricks them into believing it's inevitable. There's a psychologist named Gabrielle Oettingen. She spent 20 years at NYU doing one thing, studying what happens inside people's heads right before they attempt something hard. She expected to find that positive thinking was the answer. Visualize success, perform better. Simple. She was wrong. And honestly, what she found instead changed how I think about everything. The people who purely fantasized about success, who just imagined it going well and left it there, actually performed worse. Their heart rates dropped, their energy dropped. Their brain, in a strange way, had already celebrated, already crossed the finish line in its head. But the people who imagined success and asked themselves, okay, what's actually standing in my way? Those people, they showed up differently, sharper, hungrier, more alive to the moment. The brain doesn't need blind hope. It needs directed hope, hope with its eyes open. Which, by the way, is exactly what most of us are not doing. We sit there mentally writing the apology we'll give when it doesn't work, planning what we'll tell people, rehearsing the "yeah, it just didn't pan out" conversation. We are out here pre-failing things that haven't even started yet. And we call that being smart. We call that being grounded. That's not grounded. That's just exhausting. Here's the thing nobody tells you about hope. Hope is not naivete. Hope is not ignoring reality. Hope is not crossing your fingers and skipping the work. Hope is a cognitive strategy. When you allow your brain to genuinely sit in the possibility that something works out, really sit in it, not as a fantasy, but as a real option, something shifts. It starts looking for paths instead of exits. It starts noticing opportunities instead of threats. Fear narrows your thinking. Hope expands it. And here's what that actually looks like in real life. There was a moment I wanted to put an idea out into the world, something I genuinely believed in. And every instinct I had screamed, "You'll be criticized, you'll be ignored, you'll look foolish." But I tried something different. Instead of asking, "What if it fails?" I asked, "What if it actually connects? What if someone needs to hear this?" The fear didn't disappear. but it lost power. Once I flipped the question, fear became fuel instead of a barrier. That's the whole game. That one shift. You already know what I'm talking about. It came to your mind the second I started that sentence. Have you ever, even once, let yourself fully imagine it working out? Not as a daydream, as a real possibility. Most people haven't. And that silence right there, that hesitation, that's exactly where the problem lives. Because here's what protecting yourself from hope actually costs you. It doesn't save you from pain. It just guarantees a different kind. The quiet, slow kind. The kind that shows up at 2 a.m. asking what would have happened if you'd actually tried. Think about all the almosts in your life. The opportunities you didn't take because your brain whispered it won't work. Imagine how many of those could have been breakthroughs. That kind of pain doesn't arrive loudly. It just settles in, stays. You have spent years, probably your entire life, getting very good at preparing for things to go wrong. You're excellent at that, truly, world class. But what would happen if you gave even a fraction of that energy to preparing for things to go right? Not blindly, not recklessly, but genuinely. What if the next time your brain starts drafting the failure speech, you interrupt it and ask it one different question? What if it actually works out? Not as a wish, as a real question, as a direction to move in. Because the people who change their lives, build something real, leave something behind, aren't the ones who had the most talent, or the best timing, or the fewest obstacles. They're the ones who never fully evicted the possibility from their mind, who kept a small, stubborn corner of their brain that refused to give up the picture of it working. That's it. That's the whole hack. You don't need more preparation for failure. You've already mastered that. You need practice believing in a good outcome. That muscle is weak, and the only way to build it is to actually use it. So use it. Nobody taught you how to hope. That's okay. You can learn it now. Start today. Start small. Start with the thing you thought about 2 minutes ago. Ask the question. Sit with it. Let it be real. What if it actually works out? Because just because it hasn't happened yet, doesn't mean it can't. And I genuinely mean that. What if it does?